Yo, what's happening, people? It's Brett here from Bad Intentions Boxing. I've got undefeated middleweight with me, Denzel Bentley. Denzel, fantastic to have you with us, buddy. How are you keeping?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much, mate. It's late in the evening, I think, for both of us. We've been trying to get this for the past couple of days, so I'm pleased just to get it over. So let's move on, talking about 26. You're a Battersea native, Patmore Estate growing up. Why boxing?
It's mad. I never grew up watching boxing or being interested in that at all. But when I was about 15, my brother bought some gloves from like Nine Elms Market. Like if you know Patmore, it's just jump over the wall and you're in there. So he bought that, came down, and he was, at the beginning trying to charge people to kind of fight each other, and then we just ended up just putting them on and fighting each other anyway. And me and him were going around kind of like some tag team kind of stuff, like, kind of beating everyone up that was involved. And then when I got to college, I met a friend that boxed. I'm about 17 or 18. I met a friend that actually was into boxing, trying to box as well. He never actually had any bouts. And he was telling me, yeah, he goes to this gym and that gym and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, bring me down. I want to come. So then eventually he took me to his gym and started from there.
So this is obviously something that you started out initially as fun and you never quite thought it was going to go as far as what it's done.
Yeah, no, like, I've never really, before that, I played football. So I pitched myself like being a footballer. Like, I'm not going to act like I was mad good. I got a few trial games, but didn't really get anywhere too far in the end. But that was my dream was, football. And then after that, I was just like, okay, anything to do with sports. Like, I was doing sports science in college and in uni and stuff. But then when I went to the gym, I just kept going. And then the coach kept telling me, oh, you're good. You're pretty good. You're catching on quickly. And then it became something that I thought, okay, maybe let me see if I can actually do this. But I started watching Floyd and Adrian Broner and that kind of got me thinking, oh, right, there's money in this. And you realize, nah, there ain't nothing in this. Like when you really start to do it at first, you realize you have to love it to do it. Like you're not getting, that kind of treatment that they get at that level. So eventually I just fell in love with it and I just carried on.
And how old was you when that transition phase sort of kicked in? You thought, do you know what, actually, I can make this some sort of career?
Well, I had my first amateur fight at 19. So I was an amateur. I'd done 3 years in the amateurs. So I guess after my first year as an amateur, I kind of just, stopped everything I was doing and thought, let me concentrate on boxing and see how far I can take me kind of thing. Even up to the point where I just dropped out of uni. I just had my weekend job and boxing. That was it. Like, I just dropped everything. I said, let me see how far this can take me. And obviously that's risky because I'm 19 years old, had about one fight or something. And I'm like, maybe 2 or 3 at the time. But then it's like, yeah, let me just drop everything and try and box. Like, that's like, no one does that. My mom was like, are you serious? Like, you don't even box. Like, you ain't been doing this long. Like, what do you mean? Like, all that. My parents weren't really too happy with it at the time. But I thought, you know what? Everyone kept telling me I'm good. That I spar someone. They asked me, how many bouts have you had? I'd be like, 2. Be like, oh, well, you're good for someone with 2 bouts. And I'm like, what's someone with 2 bouts meant to fight? Like, how good are they meant to be? Do you know what I mean? So I just kept getting told I was good. Obviously, to the level that I was meant to be at. So I just thought, you know what? Let me really see if I can do this. And the more I watched boxing, the more I got into it, the more I kind of loved it. And then I said to myself, there's a gap in it that you could be an athlete for a certain amount of time. If I miss that slot, then I can never be an athlete again. But I can always go back to uni and study at whatever age or carry on my life at whatever age if, for some reason things didn't work out. So that's just the choice I made.
That sounds like a very stable head on a set of shoulders there, mate. That actually you spoke about education, boxing within the same conversation. So it definitely sounds like you weighed up your options, but you saw there was that significant point. I think people always reference and people always say boxing, it's about timing. It's about timing. And I think one of the very few that I appear to speak to that caught it at that exact right time as to where you are. You're 26, you're still relatively young in the game. People could argue and say, actually, he's not even coming to his prime yet.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say that. I definitely don't think I'm at my prime yet. I'm far from it. I think I've got a good few years until I touch that prime. Like the things I'm doing in the gym now and the level I've managed to get to in such a short space of time, like having my first bout at 19 and I'm 26. That's like 7 years of competing. Like the level I'm at now, and I've won a British title. Like some people box all their life and don't, can't achieve the British title. So the level I'm at now for, the experience I've had is pretty high. And I feel like I can go on. I feel like there's more to learn. I don't feel like I'm stuck. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm not learning no more. I feel like every day I'm learning, like something new all the time. Like I always watch boxing to kind of study it as well. Like just old fights, I go back and just watch it and I just look at things that I can take from certain fighters and see if I can add it to my game and stuff. And whenever I'm sparring, I try to take from the spar, okay, what did I do good that time? What did I do bad that time? I got caught with a few jabs. I need to avoid that next time. Or I got caught with a few backhands. I need to avoid that next time. Next time I go in with the same person, I'll try and avoid what they were successful with the first time around. And once I do that, I know, okay, yes, I picked something up here. I know to do this, I can avoid that. When I go in with someone else again, I'm just trying to keep trying to collect. I call it collecting data. Just collecting data, trying to suss out, what I can and can't do, what I can get away with and what I can't get away with. And just all trying to improve. So I'm far from my prime. I've got a bit way to go before I touch that.
And you mentioned that there, obviously winning that British title. You had those 2 fights against Mark Heffron, absolutely fantastic. And I think you showed there was different sides to your game that you could take there. You could fight southpaw, orthodox. You could fight on the front foot, on the back foot. You were quite happy being pushed up against the ropes and you felt comfortable. It looked like with throwing punches from difficult angles. There was a lot of elements where you were catching him, with those screw shots and then the left hook that was coming and follow through afterwards. So it was a real resilient display and there was so much to take for it. And I think it was difficult to draw on and say, as a 26-year-old, as we've mentioned, they're still coming through in the game, but where are your negatives in there? And it's sitting you nicely in amongst that British mix of middleweights that we've got there. Clearly the guys that are obviously just ranked above you, Liam Williams, Chris Eubank Jr., are they people that you look to aspire to, or are you trying to look to push on further than that?
100%. Like, that's who's in my path right now. So I want to go through them, but I definitely want to push on further than that. But like, you can't skip the steps. And that's something I've always known. You can't skip the steps. When I first turned pro, I wanted to win Southern area, English, and then the British. But, I got to Southern area, mandated for it. And, people were pulling out purse bids. I couldn't get that made. No one to match me up with. So now we had to move on. Okay, the English, okay, it was occupied. The person that won the English pulled out the purse bids for the Southern area. Okay, there's no point. All right, just keep learning your craft, And then, boom, we got to a point where lockdown happened. It's time for everyone to step up their game. And I fought Mick Hall the first time around, successful in that. Fought Mark Heffron, the first fight. Came out a draw and then the British was available. And it was like, I've been pushing for these titles. This is now the chance to take it. Like, I feel like I've gained the little bit of experience I needed to push on a fight at that championship level. I've got it now in the first Heffron fight and the Mick Hall fight. Let's go and get it. And then I went for the British, but I didn't try to skip any steps. Like, you could ask anyone in the gym with me. I always wanted to win Southern area. The first time I said Southern area, English, and British because I didn't want to skip no steps because I feel like all these steps are important. Whereas a lot of fighters come from, a long amateur background, a long successful amateur background, they can afford to skip these steps because they're essentially a level above. You can say, okay, they came in the game, boxing, winning ABA titles, maybe some of them boxing for, Team GB and stuff. They are, in all fairness, above Southern area type level and English level. So they can skip those steps because they've done it as amateurs. I couldn't. I had 17 amateur fights. I didn't win no national titles. I got to the semi-finals of the novices. Didn't ever go in the Haringey Box Cup. I lacked a lot of experience, but I'd been in the gym grinding. So I knew I was capable of doing these things. So I didn't want to skip any steps. But it just got to a point where, some things fell through. I didn't manage to get the titles I wanted at first, which I'm fine with because I am where I am now, which is the British champion. And I'm happy with that.
And obviously that leads us on nicely into your next bout against Felix Cash. You've both, I think fairly to say, you've both got a very similar record, both undefeated, so it's bubbling and it's coming off nicely. This obviously went to purse bids. There's no point in me asking you the question, do you think you can win this? Otherwise you wouldn't have taken the fight. You're very confident, as we say, Yeah, so that's an irrelevant question to ask. I think what's important to see is where and what department do you think you're better in, and what weaknesses can you expose of Felix Cash?
Everything, man. The thing is, I don't really look at what fighters do wrong in their fights, because when they come up against someone else, they might not make those same mistakes, or have them same weaknesses. So I don't take too much from that. I just look at the fighter, the main things: jab, important, movement, their body structure, and what they look like in the later rounds. Those are the most important things to me when I'm watching a fighter, trying to get them. So I feel like he's a good fighter. I feel like he doesn't do anything better than me. I feel like he probably feels the same way. I feel like I do, everything. If you can point out things, I think I do that, and I'll tell you, yes, I do that better. Yes, I do that. Yes, I do that better. I don't think there's anything specifically he does better than me. What we will find out very soon when we get in the ring, whether he does or not. But me personally, I don't think he does anything better than me. I think it's a fight I win. Whichever way it goes, I think I win boxing, or if I can push it and stop him, I think I can do that too. Do you know what I mean? So there's nothing I really take to be like, oh, that's his weaknesses, I'm going to exploit that. No. He's got to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm worried about what I'm doing. He's got to try and figure me out, which isn't easy, especially if I'm 100%. So we ain't got long left. Like we said, we've got 2.5 weeks, well, 2.5, 3 weeks, and it's showtime.
Very articulate in your response there, and I can see again that confidence is shining through. And again, when we talk about British level, this is a fantastic matchup for us to have at British level, especially as we've mentioned before. The guys that are above you in that line on that British middleweight scene, and I suppose it leads on to potentially, as confident as you are, you come away and you win this fight. What's next?
Well, listen, come away and I win this fight. We'll discuss with the team what's next. I ain't really got my eyes set on anything, because I feel like I'm either way, whatever's next is going to be big. You know what I'm saying? Of course, the European is probably an option, as that was in the mix for me, Felix Cash, anyway, for this fight. So that's an option, but we'll see what's next. Even if you don't go that route, it's just, I'll probably want some more international bouts, or if it makes sense to defend my British 3 times and win it, it doesn't. Anything can happen, really. Like, it just depends on what opportunities are there at the time that that makes sense and that I can take, and just make sure that it suits me. But at the end of the day, I've got to get through this. But if I don't get through this, what's next doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So fully focus on the task at hand. I'll make sure I beat Felix and beat him good, beat him convincingly, and the world's my oyster from there, man.
And obviously the Commonwealth strap is on the line as well, so there's a potential that this win is going to, rank you quite highly across the governing bodies. And there's the potential, obviously, as we say, of starting to merge through and getting closer to those top 15 across there. I suppose that brings us, onto the penultimate question. Is there anything that you want to shout out to anybody or anyone you want to thank from getting you to this position where you are now?
Yeah, listen, everyone, man, listen, I'll thank my team, my coaches, management. They brought me up from small hall shows and dinner shows to where I am now. Got to shout out Frank and the team for me and bring the purse bids, all of these things, family and friends for all supporting me, and you just got to thank God for making it all happen, man, because without God on my side, all these things might not fall into place like this. So yeah, man, I thank everyone, man. Even to where I am now, you're talking about the governing bodies, I'm already ranked number 9 with the WBO. So that's a route I'd love to take. But win this again, and I'll be ranked higher with all the other governing bodies. Yeah. I think I'm 23rd or something with WBC. So I'm creeping up, and I'm getting there. And this fight decides who's the best in Britain, and I can't wait to be named the best in Britain domestically before moving on to, European and world level. But like I said, I've got to thank my team and everyone involved to getting me this far. And obviously my sponsors and stuff, Downwell, Ringside, all these people there. So yeah.
And that's it, and that's what's important, as you mentioned there. You're already 9 with the WBO, and obviously the 3 other bodies. I think I had a look at one. I think you were maybe 23, as you've mentioned there, with the WBC.
Yeah.
19, 21, I think, with the IBF. So you're coming through nicely on all of them, and I definitely think, as we say, that's going to put you in greater sight to your stead. I take it on the 17th, will you be watching Liam Williams versus Boo Boo Andrade?
Yeah, 100%. Even that, despite the fact that, you know, they're middleweights and I'm ranked in that governing body, I'm a boxing fan. I'm watching that as a fan. You know what I mean? I'm watching that as a fan first. Of course, I've got a task at hand, so I'm not going to be watching it thinking, oh, which one of these could I take? Because I've got to focus on, you know, what I'm doing. Otherwise, you know, I slip up. And, like I said, I slip up, I don't get to think about if I can beat them anyway. So I'm watching it as a fan first before, and then, you know, get past Felix, I'll go back to whoever won and kind of study and see if I can break it down in that.
Who do you think wins that fight?
I think Andrade wins that. Andrade, however you say it, Booby wins that. But I think he's just too much for him. But like I said, if he thinks Liam Williams is like another walkover or maybe like being disrespectful, another Luke Keeler type fighter, then he might be in for a little bit of a shock. But if he's taking this serious and, you know, he's training hard and grafting, you're not beating Booby, man. He's a very, very tricky fighter. Like he's a sneaky fighter. I think Williams' best chance is to knock him out. I'm not saying he can't knock him out, but Booby has to be in a mode where he's thinking, there's another mandatory. Let me just get rid of this and move on. And then Williams can probably catch him off guard and knock him out. But if they're both 100%, Booby wins that.
I was quite fortunate enough to have a lengthy conversation with Boo Boo's dad, Paul. You know, and when I spoke to him, they're very committed to the cause, and I think they've been grinding hard all the hours. And I think there was this perception, I think that people seem to think that he was going to take him lightly and that he didn't want this fight. And I think from their side and their camp is very much a fight that they want to take. They want to get out of the way and they want to move on, essentially not to bigger and better things, but there's, you know, further opportunities, I think, at more world titles across the governing bodies as well. So, yeah, they're definitely primed for that fight, and I definitely think they're taking it seriously. You got as well Chris Eubank Jr., Marcus Morrison.
That was a weird matchup to me. I don't know where he got Marcus Morrison from. I don't know what made him, you know, pick out Marcus Morrison. I'm just being honest. Pardon me. I thought him being the WBA interim champion, he would try and fight for the WBA regular belt or the super belt, as is vacant. I thought he'd try and go that route, but I guess he wants to warm up before that. But I think Chris Eubank wins. I'm not going to lie to you. I think Chris Eubank wins. I think me and Marcus were meant to fight the first fight back from lockdown, or it was a fight put to me for his WBC international title, and they didn't take it for whatever reason. But that was a fight I thought I would have won anyway. But Eubank is just that level above. The thing is about Marcus, he can punch. From what I've seen, he can punch. So he's got that chance. Every puncher has a puncher's chance. But I don't think, I don't want to sound like I'm mugging him off, but I don't think he has, from what I've seen, I don't think he has the bottle to go through someone like Chris Eubank, because it's going to get hard in there. And, you know, judging on his past fights, like, you know, with the Wellborn fight, with the Italian guy, he kind of bit down and caught that lucky punch, but he was losing that lucky tank goals, and he starts, you know, getting tired and feeling sorry for himself a bit from what I've seen. And I think Eubank's going to make him pay for that. If he does show any signs of weakness, he's going to pay for that.
I think that's a tough fight for anybody to take, to get in there with Chris Eubank Jr., you know, as you say.
100%.
With the pedigree, the experience he's got. So it's a tough fight. I can see the opportunity that's arose to, you know, obviously Marcus and why he's taking it. But definitely, you know, that's a tough fight. And I think without being disrespectful to anybody, I think Chris Eubank's obviously made the favourite in that fight before it's signed. But perhaps possibly that's what Marcus needs to spur him on. Again, so just before we end, is there anything that you wanted to shout out to Felix Cash or anybody potentially who's watching?
No, man, I ain't got nothing to say to Felix Cash. We're going to fight soon anyway, so we're all good.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have with us this evening. I wish you every bit of success.
Nice, man. Thank you, man.
Bye.